The Scarecrow of Oz. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Chapter 17. The Scarecrow of Oz by L. Frank Baum. The Orc Rescues Button-Bright. I must now tell you what had become of Button-Bright since he wandered away in the morning and got lost. This small boy, as perhaps you have discovered, was almost as destitute of nerves as the Scarecrow. Nothing ever astonished him much. Nothing ever worried him or made him unhappy. Good fortune or bad fortune, he accepted with a quiet smile, never complaining, whatever happened. This was the one reason why Button-Bright was a favorite with all who knew him. And perhaps it was the reason why he so often got into difficulties or found himself lost. Today, as he wandered here and there, over hill and down dale, he missed Trot and Cap'n Bill, of whom he was fond. But nevertheless, he was not unhappy. The birds sang merrily, and the wild flowers were beautiful, and the breeze had a fragrance of new-mown hay.
The only bad thing about this country is its king,
he reflected.
But the country isn't to blame for that.
A prairie dog stuck its round head out of a mound of earth and looked at the boy with bright eyes.
"Walk around my house, please,"
it said,
"and then you won't harm it or disturb the babies."
"All right,"
answered Button-Bright, and took care not to step on the mound. He went on, whistling merrily, until a petulant voice cried,
"Oh, stop it! Please stop that noise. It gets on my nerves."
Button-Bright saw an old gray owl sitting in the crotch of a tree, and he replied with a laugh,
"All right, old fussy,"
and stopped whistling until he had passed out of the owl's hearing. At noon he came to a farmhouse where an aged couple lived. They gave him a good dinner and treated him kindly, but the man was deaf and the woman was dumb, so they could answer no questions to guide him on the way to Pon's house. When he left them, he was just as much lost as he had been before. Every grove of trees he saw from a distance he visited, for he remembered that the king's castle was near a grove of trees, and Pon's hut was near the king's castle. But always he met with disappointment. Finally, passing through one of these groves, he came out into the open, and found himself face to face with the Orc.
"Hello,"
said Button-Bright.
"Where did you come from?"
"From Orkland,"
was the reply.
"I've found my own country at last, and it is not far from here either. I would have come back to you sooner to see how you were getting along, had not my family and friends welcomed my return so royally that a great celebration was held in my honor, so I couldn't very well leave Orkland again until the excitement was over."
"Can you find your way back home again?"
asked the boy.
"Yes, easily, for now I know exactly where it is. But where are Trot and Captain Bill?"
Button-Bright related to the Orc their adventures since it had left them in Jinxland, telling of Trot's fear that the king had done something wicked to Cap'n Bill, and of Pon's love for Gloria, and how Trot and Button-Bright had been turned out of the king's castle. That was all the news that the boy had, but it made the Orc anxious for the safety of his friends.
"We must go to them at once, for they may need us,"
he said.
"I don't know where to go,"
confessed Button-Bright.
"I'm lost."
"Well, I can take you back to the hut of the gardener's boy,"
promised the Orc.
"for when I fly high in the air I can look down and easily spy the king's castle. That was how I happened to spy you just entering the grove, so I flew down and waited until you came out."
"How can you carry me?"
asked the boy.
"You'll have to sit straddle my shoulders and put your arms around my neck. Do you think you can keep from falling off?"
"I'll try,"
said Button-Bright. So the Orc squatted down, and the boy took his seat and held on tight. Then the skinny creature's tail began whirling, and up they went, far above all the tree-tops. After the Orc had circled around once or twice, its sharp eyes located the towers of the castle, and away it flew straight toward the palace. As it hovered in the air, near by the castle, Button-Bright pointed out Pon's hut, so they landed just before it, and Trot came running out to greet them. Gloria was introduced to the Orc, who was surprised to find Cap'n Bill transformed into a grasshopper.
"How do you like it?"
asked the creature.
Why, it worries me a good deal,
answered Cap'n Bill, perched upon Trot's shoulder.
I'm always afraid of being stepped on, and I don't like the flavor of grass and can't seem to get used to it. It's my nature to eat grass, you know, but I begin to suspect it's an acquired taste.
Can you give molasses?
asked the Orc.
I guess I'm not that kind of grasshopper,
replied Cap'n Bill.
but I can't say what I might do if I was squeezed, which I hope I won't be.
Well,
said the Orc,
it's a great pity, and I'd like to meet that cruel king and his wicked witch and punish them both severely. You're awfully small, Cap'n Bill, but I think I would recognize you anywhere by your wooden leg.
Then the Orc and Button-Bright were told all about Gloria's frozen heart, and how the Scarecrow had come from the land of Oz to help them. The Orc seemed rather disturbed when it learned that the Scarecrow had gone alone to conquer King Cruel.
I'm afraid he'll make a frizzle of it. And there's no telling what that terrible king might do to the poor Scarecrow, who seems like a very interesting person, so I believe I'll take a hand in this conquest myself.
How?
asked Trot.
Wait and see,
was the reply.
But first of all, I must fly home again, back to my own country, so if you'll forgive me my leaving you so soon, I'll be off at once. Stand away from my tail, please, so that the wind from it, when it revolves, won't knock you over.
They gave the creature plenty of room, and away it went like a flash, and soon disappeared in the sky.
I wonder,
said Button-Bright, looking solemnly after the Orc.
whether he'll ever come back again.
Of course he will.
returned Trot.
The Orc's a pretty good fellow, and we can depend on him. And mark my words, Button-Bright, whenever our Orc does come back, there's one cruel king in Jinxland that'll wish he hadn't.
End of chapter 17.